It's going?
You're good.
Good evening. I'm Janet Anderson. I call to order the Town of Lewisboro Planning Board meeting for Tuesday, May 21st, 2024 at 7:30 p.m. So the exit is the way you came in. The exits to my left are for emergencies. In order to comply with the open meetings law, we must meet in person. We do not have the capacity for the public to attend by Zoom, nor can we stream our meeting to YouTube. We will post an audio recording of this meeting to the town website. Materials considered at this meeting are available in the agenda packet on the town website. And members of the public can always express their views by mail or email to planning@lewisborogov.com. I'm sorry, it's now changed. planning@lewisborony.gov. Thank you. And as of January, that's going to be the only one that works. Okay. Kirsten Conrad, our Planning Board Administrator, has confirmed that the meeting has been duly noticed and legal notice requirements are fulfilled. Joining me tonight from the town of Lewisboro are members of the Planning Board, Paul Fusco, John Guzmato, Charlene Indelicato. Bruce Thompson is not available tonight, but we do have a quorum, and thus we can conduct the business of the board, and we can vote on any matters that come before us. Also, our consultant, Jan Johannesson from KSCJ is here, Council Judd Siebert, the Planning Board Administrator, Kirsten Conrad, I've already mentioned, Building Inspector, Kevin Kelly, and the CAC Chair, John Wolf. Okay, so with that, we're starting off with a number of extension of time requests. The first one on our agenda is calendar number 03-22 PB, Arbor Hills Water System on Bundridge Drive in Goldens Bridge, New York. And this is a request for an extension of time for a site development plan approval, stormwater permit approval.
Thank you. Sean Peters with H2M here on behalf of Liberty Utilities. First of all, I'd like to thank the board for their patience with this project. I know this isn't my first time back for an extension of time request. The last time that we were here was regarding the Department of Health and outstanding comments, and that's still where we stand today. I do think we've made some progress with that. There has been some back and forth, which was discussed in my letter to the board. Most recently, actually, since I sent that letter in on 415 and 412 respectively for the two sites, the DOH reached out and indicated that we had addressed all comments and they wanted one final electronic submission before we sent in signed copies, so we accommodated that, and then there was a few new comments. We got those comments earlier this month, and we intend to have a response to those comments in the next week or two. So I do think we're getting towards the end of this, but once again, I appreciate your patience with this. The other thing that I will note is that the comments we've received from the DOH, they pertain to treatment stuff inside the interior of the building, so there hasn't been any changes to the building size, the building footprint or location, and any minor site plan changes, if they come up, will obviously be addressed and brought forth and identified in our final submission. So I just wanted to also note that.
Great. Okay, so I think we can give a 6-month extension, so I'd look for motion for a 6-month extension.
So moved.
Thank you, Charlene.
Second.
John, second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, so that was for the first one. The second one is Indian Hills, calendar number 09-22 PB. I think you're probably going to say ditto.
Yeah, same story, except, we received that same comment about everything being addressed on 415 as opposed to 412, but both projects are following a very similar timeline at this point, so.
Okay. Similarly.
You want to move?
Yep. Oh, you want to move? Who's moving?
I'll make a motion that we grant an extension, 6-month extension to the Indian Hill Water Project.
I second it.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. So that motion passes. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you guys.
Okay, the next item on our agenda is calendar number 07-21 PB. This is another extension of time request for the Cross River Pharmacy at 890 Route 35, Cross River, New York. I don't know if I don't see them. Okay, so this applicant is asking for an extension of time for a change of use permit approval and waiver of site development plan procedures. Their current expiration date was April 19th. They're asked only for a 1-month extension, but I think that's rather short-sighted, and I think we ought to give them 6 months. So,
I agree with that.
I so move.
okay, Charlene moved,
Second.
I do have a question.
seconded by Paul. Okay.
I do have a question. Is this the same one that they were going to have another couple,
Yep.
There-
and now it's a change of use?
No, it
Or was it always
always
that
was
way?
a change of
Okay.
use
Okay.
to the pharmacy. Now they think someone else may buy the pharmacy. I don't know what that will
Okay.
end
All
up
right.
doing,
6
but right
months,
now
that's
it's an
fine.
extension of time on there.
Okay.
Okay, so any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Okay, next item on our agenda is calendar number 06-17PB, calendar number 43-23WP, and calendar number 18-23SW. This is the Wolf Conservation Center, and it's again an application for an extension of time.
Thank you. Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board. For the record, Janet Garris with Del Bello, Denellen, Weingarten, Wise, and Whitaker here this evening on behalf of the applicant. As you might remember, back in November, you granted subdivision approval for us in connection with our ongoing applications for special permits, site plan, and other environmental permits. As you know, we're in the process of completing those. There were certain conditions of the subdivision approval that required site plan and other things. We are working on those things, so we're unable to finish the subdivision before the 180 days is up. So we're seeking, at this point, a 90-day extension. Town law dictates 90 days at a time, so that's what we're seeking from you this evening.
Okay. Any questions? Okay, any motion? Okay, motion for 90-day extension,
I'll second it.
seconded by John. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you very
And
much.
I'm sure we'll
just
see
to
you.
update you for a moment, if I might.
Oh, sure.
And so when we were before you last month, we had talked about the 72-hour pump test that's being required. We did submit that work plan to your consultant. We received some comments back. I think we're working on responses to those comments, and we are going to be ready to go right thereafter. So we're
Cool.
hoping to be back
Good.
before you very shortly.
Great,
Thank
thank
you.
you. Okay, the next item on our agenda is calendar number 91-19WP, calendar number 10-19SW. This is the Kenny Residence at 40 Old Pond Road in South Salem, New York. Again, a request for extension of time for resolutions for wetland permit approval, stormwater permit approval. Is there anyone from the Kenny Residence here? Okay. So,
They already-
yeah, so
It's
here's,
already expired.
yeah, no, so this is one that, actually, there's a change of owner. So one of the things that we talked about is asking the new owner to sign basically a countersign the conditions, like we asked the original owner to do. So we could extend it, but include that request for a counter signature of conditions. The other thing that we might, I don't know how we ask this in an extension though. If they are, so there's already been a pre-construction meeting with one set of construction people, but if they are changing construction people, we might want to ask that they meet with Jan. So maybe we ask in any case?
Maybe we do both in the letter, with just a counter signature confirming that they understand and accept all the conditions of the permit, and that no site activity be undertaken until they contact Jan.
For potential,
Pre-construction or confirmation.
of the-
Who's doing what, right?
yeah, okay. So I'm okay with it, I mean, I think we can give a 1-year extension, but we might want to,
Conditional on the
with those, I'm sorry,
With the conditions.
with those conditions. So I'd look for a motion for that.
I so move.
Charlene, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Paul. So I think the only thing I'll ask maybe that Judd, you help Kirsten make sure the language is right, because I'm not sure we were as clear right then as we could be. Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. So thank you. Okay, so the next item on our agenda is the wetland permit reviews. This is calendar number 13-24 WP, the Merson and Sakima Dock at 19 North Lake Circle, South Salem, New York. And this is a application for a new dock to be installed at their home. Before we get going, I am going to disclose that this is in the area that is sort of part of the Three Lakes, and I am the president of Three Lakes Council, so I'm disclosing that, but I don't feel a need to recuse myself, just letting everybody know. Okay,
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Thank you for having us. We're pleased to have bought a home here a few months ago. So we're requesting to build a dock to live in 19 North Lake Circle in South Salem. I don't know how much detail you want. It's being, we have a proposal from dock builders for a little landing of 6 by 10 feet, a 12-foot by 5 walkway, and a 10 by 10 dock to get out over the rocky, shallow parts to be able to safely get in the water.
yeah, we did get a small plan, so we are aware of that. I think this is typically the kind of thing that can go administrative, so we would need a motion to move this to the offices of Jan Johansson as our administrator.
I second.
Okay, Paul moved, Charlene seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I'm just going to tell you that the people who lived there a couple times ago were world-class botanists.
I've learned that the yard has bloomed.
Yes, you're going to really enjoy the flowers as they come up all year.
There are many of them I've been checking every time we're here.
Right, and ferns and other things.
They're
Okay,
looking beautiful, so
Great.
thank you.
okay.
So that it's administratively.
Yeah,
So
you
now
don't have
you
to
will-
come back in front of us, you're just going to deal
You can-
directly.
There's nothing else you need to submit. I reviewed your application, so we'll be issuing right now. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Appreciate
Okay,
it.
thank you,
Nice to meet
and happy travels.
Thank you.
Okay. The next item on our agenda is a special use permit. This is for calendar number 04-19 PB, calendar number 17-19 WP, calendar number 06-19 SW, Pound Ridge Stone. This is 2 West Road, South Salem, New York. So this is a reapproval, really a resubmittal for a special use permit for site improvements. What has happened, I understand, is that this is, they need a special use permit until the site approval that site development plan that we've approved gets done and a CO gets issued. So, yes, go ahead.
Sorry, I've been at this for close to 20 years, and it's just, the calendar escapes me sometimes when things are past due or whatever. It's just, I think next month something else will expire, and then next month something else will expire, so I just
Right,
grant some leniency on
on this,
my
right.
lack of calendar skills.
I know. So, and one of the things we looked at was that we can give a special use permit for a couple of years, but then that would put you beyond when the other ones expired. So if you would like to request that we also extend the wetland activity permit approval and stormwater permit approval, so everything
That would be
ended,
wonderful if we get them all kind of coordinated to the same date.
right,
Kirsten's been helping me a lot with this, but it's, sometimes it's,
yeah. There's a lot, I know. Just this year I was,
Something technical, some emails never got to me whether it was even
oh
going
dear.
to be expired, and that's my fault for probably not updating my router or something, but,
Okay,
well, excuses, but we're almost there, just like.
almost there, okay. So we would, maybe like 2 years from now would be in,
But for the reapproval, we need to actually, we have to do a public hearing.
Oh.
And a resolution, so,
for the
for the special permit,
so we can schedule,
we'll need a full resolution, so I would suggest we could schedule a public hearing for the June meeting with the direction that the resolution be drafted. And as that's being drafted, we can look at the dates and try to fold into the resolution, sort of a single track approval schedule for everything,
Okay,
with the extension request.
with the extension request. So, consensus on scheduling a public hearing
Yes.
for June? I'm sorry, I forgot that we had to do that. And consensus on asking for a resolution to be approved?
I'm okay with that.
Yep, okay.
It makes sense.
Keep in mind that I have 1 year to get this thing kind of up and running, and I already, laid out a ton of money to get this bond thing going, and that's, the time is clicking as I go along, and I've honestly been doing everything I can to get this thing moving forward, or like right at the starting gate, and then, I think my son was even born before I started this thing, so, I would ask for leniency, whatever you could do.
Yep.
Judd, I don't know if that's.
Look,
Follow the rules, that's fine.
We're trying to fast track just to get this special
Okay,
permit
thank you.
back in track.
All right.
So I think
I thought I was going to
we
end.
can wrap this up next month.
Okay, all right, that's fine.
And I'll work with you and Janet on the public hearing
That's fine.
process.
Right, so, I mean, I think if things go well, if we don't hear something unexpected from the public, we will have the public hearing next month and be able to work to close on the resolution next month. So that's what we hope will happen.
Okay. But the time track of everything keeps clicking along, doesn't, that doesn't have any effect on anything, right?
It doesn't, the only thing that has expired is a special permit at this point. So, I mean, whatever you're doing to further the.
I know, but the bond is kind of like, that was like the key issue to the whole thing, get the things started, and then I have a certain amount of time to get that work started and completed in that time. And this kind of came out of nowhere that I was even, this going to expire.
You might be able to start the harvest.
Yeah, you
I think
can,
start, yeah.
the work is still allowed until next year. It's only the special use permit for,
The site plan, the stormwater permit, and the wetland permit are still valid.
They're all still valid.
So, but this held up the permit to get work started, so.
the only thing that is sort of, is the special use permit, which was really for the fabrication, it sort of
Special use permit
recognizes.
is, to actually utilize the building.
Right.
So there's nothing preventing you from,
Oh, so we can still.
You can do
move ahead
all-
with this still lacking, whatever, if that's.
you can move ahead with the construction aspect so long as you have a building permit.
Okay, but I think the building permit kind of was the last step of everything that happened, and then this came along out of the blue, so.
Okay. Well, let's regroup tomorrow and we'll figure it out.
Okay.
Yeah, you'll talk about a building permit tomorrow then? Okay, great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, the next item on our agenda under site development reviews is calendar number 04-24 PB. This is the Palermo Residence at 9 Fairmount Road in Goldens Bridge, New York. And this is really the application for the legalization of an existing deck and tree removal.
Yes, good evening, everyone. Hi, I'm Danielle Palermo,
Richard Palermo.
and we're the homeowners at 9 Fairmount Road. We bought the home with a deck that was not legalized. It is 20 by 20, just about, and we would just love to be able to legalize it. We are in a multi-family dwelling. I understand there's some rules around that, so we just want to know what we can do. If we can keep the existing deck, what can we do?
Right.
That's really where we are.
So you're doing great at understanding that you're in this multifamily situation that has a resolution that controls it. So I don't know, did you check for zoning compliance on
They
this?
have a side yard setback issue, which we discussed whether they were going to clip that corner or not.
Didn't determine
Yeah,
to
I mean,
what point we
yeah.
could, so that's.
So, open to debate. The main thing tonight is to at least get permission from the planning board to move forward, and then we can discuss tweaking this deck, whether
Right.
we have to go to the zoning
Or
board
go to the
for
zoning board.
that or not.
So we can agree to waive the public hearing, which, okay, and we could ask for a resolution for next month, but the resolution, we probably need to know what the approach will be, whether they're not on zoning board for tomorrow night.
No.
We told we couldn't wait until we did this
Yeah,
step
this.
first.
So they need to give me direction if they want to keep that corner or not keep that corner?
We just want a nice deck. So really, that's what it boils down to. So what do we need to do?
I
Follow
don't think that,
guidelines.
I mean, the planning board issues site plan approval. And you supplied all that information. I don't have any particular issue with it. But the planning board, I don't think, could act on a resolution if there was a zoning.
This is a variance.
Yeah, if it's not,
Right.
so,
So I think that you should, if there's a zoning variance needed, you should obtain that and then come back and you can get the planning board approval.
Right.
Site plan.
So-
Or alter the plan in a way that you don't need the variance.
in other
So
words,
do you understand what they're saying? Basically, you can cut your deck to make it fit in the zone, in the current requirements.
But we don't know
Or
what the
you
requirements
get,
are.
or you get a variance.
Yeah, we can go back over that again. That was that side yard where we looked at the floor.
But wasn't the issue that it didn't even, it was like 50 feet and that puts us like in past our neighbor's home?
No.
I could have sworn
It was
that
that
we were-
side yard where we were encroaching
yeah.
pretty darn close.
Okay.
So we had to cut that back to conform.
How much of a cut was that?
3 feet at the most is what it's showing on the plan.
3 feet?
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
triangle, but
Just
there's-
go for
Yeah.
the variance. Just go get,
I mean, I
it
think
just
it's
means
possibility
you're
to
out
get
of
the
compliance
variance.
for a couple of
I
months
mean, the
more.
deck has been there
Right.
forever.
So- So, okay, so, but we can't approve anything that's not in compliance, that hasn't been approved by the zoning board. So if you go, I know it's another complex thing, if you go to this, if the building inspector sort of says you have to go to the, he'll write a letter saying you have to go to the zoning board, you get on their calendar. I can't speak for them, but I'd expect you'd come back here with the full deck, and then we would,
In other words, they'd approve it and say, yes, you can have a variance.
we expect that,
That's
but.
And
what
we're
we
in
would
receipt
expect.
of a number of letters saying
Right.
that
Judge,
neighbors are not.
is there a way to conditionally approve this if the zoning board allows it?
The problem is, it's a site plan approval,
Okay.
so
We need-
we can only, countenance or approve a site plan that conforms to code
Okay.
or to variances granted by the ZBA.
So I apologize that it seems like this is back and forth, but I think,
Yeah.
I don't know, if you write the letter, maybe they can get on, I don't think tomorrow, but the next month?
But yeah.
And-
We can get on for the next agenda. If indeed we're going to go for keeping the maximum amount of deck.
Ideally.
Yeah, okay, but that's what we need to know.
That sounds
Okay.
easy
And,
to me.
and what would help you also is if you can get your neighbors to also say that they're okay with it.
We have-
Oh, you've done that
We
already?
have that.
They have all sorts of
Okay,
letters already,
fine.
yeah.
I enjoy it, so let's keep it impossible.
Okay, so that's great. So
Yes.
I hope we will, so we've, by consensus, we've agreed to waive a public hearing, right? And we're just going to ask for a resolution, but it probably will take another, like, July before you get to come back. But meanwhile, enjoy your deck.
Okay. Okay. So the goal then would be through zoning to approve what's existing, the existing size?
Correct.
Yes.
Get a variance for that? Okay.
So what you're getting a variance for is the fact that it's going into the side yard setback, that side.
So we're going to take your package, we'll write a denial letter, get it submitted on the calendar. You're going to have to notice all your neighbors, okay? It's just the procedure,
Yeah.
okay? And then you go to the zoning board for one night, pretty quick.
Okay.
And it's on the assumption that they approve it, and then we'll kick you back to this.
All right, so I'll see you guys again.
Okay,
Okay.
Great.
Thank you very much. Appreciate
Okay.
it.
thank you. Okay. The next item on our agenda is calendar number 07-24 PB. This is For Your Nail and Spa, 890 Route 35, Cross River, New York. This is the application of change for use from indoor recreational to personal services. Hello.
Yeah, that's what we're here for. We'd like to apply for a change of use, and it should be.
Okay, I'm sorry. First, can you give us your names for the recorder?
Of course, my name is Chigan. His name is
Thank you.
My
You
side.
can come closer.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
because
Come on up.
it's recording.
We've got this recorder and you're soft-spoken. Okay.
Gotcha, gotcha. So yeah, we'd like to apply for the change of use. The new use should be permitted within the underlying zone. And
Okay, so I think what we have heard from Jan is that the parking calculation is the same for the two uses, so that's okay. This does have to go to the Department of Health, so, right?
我这个必须要进那个我来给你翻译一下。
Sorry, I don't know English. My son is transfer me.
就是那个
But I think,
这个不需要，我们有那个有 license 吗？
So he does have the license and everything ready, prepared for that.
you do have it. Okay, so what we would do is, I think if we can agree to waive a public hearing if we want to do so on this, and ask for a resolution, and we could ask for the Department of Health approval to be a condition of the resolution.
Okay with that?
So,
And just for your understanding that all change of uses go to the health department, so they can evaluate the water and sewer demand, as the building's on a septic system. So each use has a different demand on the septic system. So they'll look at your square footage and your use, and they determine a flow rate. They're going to compare you to the existing use, just like we did for parking, and they're going to determine whether there's any septic capacity issues. So that needs to happen. Your architect will help you coordinate that with health.
it's the capacity of the system to handle the water use, the water that would be used in this.
So you might have a license. The health department issues a lot of different licenses and permits.
Okay.
But in the package that I reviewed from your architect, I didn't see the septic one.
所以他们就是说必须要有这个，就是说那个放水的东西，所以他需要就是说经过这个部门。
这全找这个部门用的，是叫他那个部门还是去哪里？
对啊，就是他们部门。
哦，
对。
If the architect has a question, perhaps he could get in touch with
Yeah,
Jan?
your architect could call me.
OK，所以要是不知道的话，你可以让就是说你那个人给他联系。
好。
And make sure that, that he knows, because it would be the architect probably who would submit to the Department of Health, so he knows exactly what he has to do. Okay? Great.
Thank you.
Okay, I think that's it. Is there anything else that we need to do with this, Jan? No? I think
No,
we're,
you waive the public hearing, and I'm going to prepare a resolution for next month with the health department being.
Conditional.
yep. Right, okay, great.
As long as it's not being operated in your preference, it's at your risk. Hypothetically, the health department said, we have a problem. I know you're not easy. I don't have a problem if you start noticing that we get insurance for any.
Just reach out to Kirsten tomorrow.
Okay, the next item on our agenda is calendar number 06-23PB. This is Double H Farm Reed subdivision at 20 Boutonville Road South in Cross River, New York. And this is an application for a subdivision and for changes to the site for a private writing academy. So before you get going, I will do, oh, no, that's not it. Okay, yes. Sorry, I was confused for a minute.
Are you sure? Okay. Yes, good evening. Charles Montebello for the applicant, and I have Dawn McKenzie from Inside Engineering here, should the occasion arise to ask questions there. Also, Quentin Judge, who is one of the principals of Double H Farm. So, we have received before this evening, we received a significant memo from Jan Johannesson. Fortunately, he made time for us to discuss in a Zoom meeting today how best to respond to that. We're confident that we can respond to that by the May 28th filing deadline. What we'd love to do is see if we can get scheduled for a public hearing at the June meeting and move forward.
Okay, so this would be for phase one?
let me be crystal clear. It would be for phase one, which as you know involves the phase one improvements, which are very minor. They are to move a sand ring and to create a Grand Prix field, no building improvements whatsoever. Same number of stalls as previously existing. So that's phase one. And of course the lot line change, which as you know is also, as with the phase one, the both type 2 actions. So we'd like to get them done at the same time and hopefully next month.
Okay. So, on some of the phase one drawings that we have, there are trees, for example, that are taken down that I don't think need to get taken down until phase two comes. And there are some, you know, I mean, so I'm not quite sure what all is included, and that's, I know you're saying minor, but the plans we got might not really all be phase one-ish.
We discussed things that we have to modify, layers we have to maybe turn on or turn off with you on, and that'll be part of our submission.
Okay. I personally am less comfortable with a subdivision right now until we see what else is happening. I will open this up to the board, but until we understand sort of the scope of what is going to happen on the whole site, I personally am a little hesitant on the subdivision.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Everything seems very segmented to me. You know, I read in one place in Westchester, I think the Westchester Planning, that you say 24 stalls, or maybe that's in the agricultural, 24 stalls. And someplace else you say 22, and I know that 22 is what it is.
2022 is the correct number.
Okay, that's the correct number.
You're right.
And then you have, looking at the agricultural determination, the farm seems to be much bigger. It's 49 and 13 acres. So, and you've added a portion. It seems that's what
Okay, so the original, designation, with respect to Westchester County Agricultural District, was for the original Birdstone Farm.
Right.
But there's nothing that's added there that isn't presently owned by Double H.
Oh, I'm not saying it's not owned by Double H. I'm just saying that there was an extension to the Pound Ridge property was included.
In the agricultural district.
In the agricultural district.
Yes, that's right.
And my point is that all the traffic is coming to, I mean, Pound Ridge is getting the taxes, we're getting the traffic. But other than that, it seems that we don't know what's going to happen at that property. There's a use that can be made of it as piece of the farm, which from looking at your Ridgefield property, you did have a big house with guest rooms or something.
You mean Double H, of course.
Double H.
Right, yes.
In Ridgefield. And I was wondering if this is going to be like that property and used in the same way, because that portion that's in Pound Ridge theoretically can be used for whatever, I don't know what the zoning is, but it's part of the farm.
Okay, what I think, we're using the word farm, I think, as if it's synonymous with agricultural district. It's part of the agricultural
It's part of the agricultural district,
Correct.
which can be used for the farming purposes, which may be for 5 bedrooms and they have guests there so that they can use the agricultural district.
I think the only thing that we represent is that the owners were contemplating possibly putting their personal residence on it. We don't have those plans crystallized at this juncture. And we did discuss, I think, at the last meeting, that access would come through Lewisboro for that. But there's not a large subdivision.
I understand that, but if it's going to be in the agricultural district and it's going to be used for residents and maybe something else, it seems a little segmented. It's like the statement that was made, we're not contemplating lights at this time.
But these are type 2 actions, so you really can't have a claim of segmentation in a type 2 action.
Then I would have an issue with the type 2 action.
I mean, the issue is we've got we have a crystallized initial application for existing operation with a lot line change.
Right.
Right.
That's definitely type 2. And it ties into both what's proposed, how we've treated prior applications of this type, and the fact that you have a tie-in between the secret regulations and ag and markets law as to what are farm operations that would fall within the ambit of a type 2 action. Arguably, phase 2, even though we don't know what that entails, is going to be type 2 as well.
It just seems that we're being told, well, we can do this, and maybe we can do this, and maybe we can do that. And you really don't know what it's really going to be, because there's so many additions to it, or possibilities. And at this point, we don't know enough about how much traffic there's going to be, and how much of an impact it's going to be. And you have like the widening of the driveway. Is that going to happen in phase 1?
I believe it is, but if I can go ahead.
May I finish?
Of course.
And having the subdivision or the lot line change would sort of prevent the access on 121. So I would not be comfortable with that.
Okay, so can I address that?
Yeah, go ahead.
The only thing that we're seeking approval on at this juncture is the phase 1, okay?
Right.
And as I related to your board previously, the contract to sell the property does not have within it an ability to retain the access. To talk about that access at this juncture is so premature because it has nothing to do with this particular application that's before you.
Then maybe these two applications should be severed, because the fact of the matter is that your contract issue is not our contract.
But it's not even my contract, it happens
Well,
to be the contract for the seller.
Yeah, well, it's not our issue. And the fact that we may have to look, because it's part of phase 2, prevents me personally from agreeing with the subdivision.
Okay, so
Let me try to say, I mean, I think you
Maybe-
heard.
maybe I didn't
Yeah, I think you were very clear, but I think when we talked last time, one of the questions we had was, is there a possibility that some of the potential traffic could go through the parcels that are currently anticipated to be subdivided? We haven't really explored that. I think Paul also had a question about, that was one of the only areas that really had much forested, wooded areas remaining on it, and felt that maybe in the scope of looking at the overall development, we should consider what, if there were any potential either restrictions or something that we might want to put on that property as we looked at it in total with the whole rest. So I don't know, and I'm not speaking for everybody. Yeah, go ahead.
What property? Restrictions on what property? Which property?
On the parcels that are proposed to be.
Okay, so we did, Inside Engineering looked at the possibility of, is this feasible? And I think from the point of view of grades, from the point of view of site distance, this is not feasible, let alone DOT, would they approve it when it already has 2 accesses on a road? I don't believe it's going to be feasible, but we did look at it simply because you asked us to do
Okay.
it.
Well, we haven't seen that, so that's one of the, we've not seen that.
Seen what?
The analysis, when you said you looked at it, we had not seen that.
Okay, so we'll submit that as part of our May 20th submission.
As also, it's the fact that you have Insight doing site distance. I understand that for the trucks, but everybody goes through that. Everybody has a driveway on 121. So I don't understand why Double H couldn't have a driveway.
First of all, okay, and I go back to it only because it's a fact, okay? We are obligated to convey that property back to our seller to convey it to the Reeds, And that did not have a reservation to allow a road to go through that.
I understand that, but that was made before you came here.
Understood, yes.
And
Those are
that's
our
part of the
plans.
farm, is that part of the farm?
When you say farm,
Agriculture?
is that, as I recall from the submission by Westchester Ag, I think that's part of it, that's
Right.
in the agricultural district, correct? Those two pieces that we
Okay,
would
so
submit.
that's part of, maybe not Double H Farm, but
Nope.
it's certainly part of the agricultural district.
But I don't understand the significance of that.
It can be part of the farm.
It can be part of what?
It can be an ingress and egress to the farm,
Not if we don't own it.
but you do own it. You know, you came here not owning it, but that wasn't our,
Excuse me.
yeah.
This is Quentin Judge. He's from Double H. He wants to
Hi.
say something.
How are you? No,
Hi.
nice to meet you all. I don't want to interrupt Charlie. I wanted to, at the end, let Charlie finish, but I came tonight to be able to give some answers and questions like that as far as the use of the farm, what we're planning, kind of who we are, and what we're trying to do with the property. I think there might be comparing to our property in Richfield, as you were speaking of, and the homes we had, there might be a thought that we're planning to come in and build live houses and make this some big thing. We sold our property in Richfield because my father-in-law passed away 7 years ago. It was his passion. He loved it. My mother-in-law was there in this big house. She was never there. We decided as a family we should downsize, so we did. And our goal is horse people. I mean, I'm not a lawyer. I'm a horse guy. So I know we saw this farm we were looking to rent, and we fell in love with it, and the opportunity to purchase came along, so we did. Our plan is to keep the same amount of stalls, the same area of the barn when we get to phase 2 and we can build. All we're trying to do currently is use the property for what we need as for our family business horse operation currently and upgrade it to 2024 standards, which we had a big farm in Ridgefield, as you said. 2 years ago, we had to upgrade the inside of that barn to make it horse things, and everything changes and evolves. So all we're trying to do long-term is use this historic horse farm as it should be and use it for our own
Oh,
use.
I think it's a wonderful use, but
Regardless-
everything is on Boutonville.
Without a
Everything, like
But I
the
will say-
housing is on Boutonville, the traffic is on
But to
Boutonville.
that point, Boutonville, when you said everyone has a driveway on 121, if you're talking about Boutonville and our property in that road, those houses all come out to Boutonville. And as far as the traffic is concerned, this is a horse-specific point, but if you have 20 horses in a barn, which we're going to have, if it's just our horses, that's a very small crew of people doing it. If you have prior use of the farm, which I know from talking to friends in the horse industry when we bought it, said, oh, Bridgestone used to have horses there, and they knew it. If you have one horse, equates normally, if you have a boarding facility where people are there, equates to probably 2 people, 2 cars.
But you're gonna have 8 employees
Correct.
in apartments, and that.
Not all in apartments on site. Our plan is we will have 8 employees as we have now for our 20 horses.
Right.
We are planning to, and we were really in the phase of making those plans for the building, knowing that this was so hard to kind of get phase 1, just have a riding ring approved. We as a family kind of paused doing any more time and money into building and
You know, actually, I have no opposition to the rings. I have an opposition to the subdivision at this time.
Understood, and I think that's a general
Okay.
consensus, and I think it's a horse farm, we want to build a ring in a Grand Prix field, I would assume that's okay, but I think, I just want to make sure everyone understands the parcel and the lot line and the subdivision, that was presented to us as the buyers as necessary to purchase the property. So we were not coming into this trying to make something happen, stick something in here. Our representatives, maybe right or wrong, said that was necessary for the sellers for us to buy the property, and we really wanted it, that's what we did. So I understand it's all up to
It was necessary for you to sell that property?
for us to buy the property, that was part of the agreement.
Exactly.
So when we bought the property,
So it was part of the agreement that you subdivide that property?
I would say, to my best knowledge, that was the Michigan does. So this is not us trying to buy a property and sell off some land and make some, and we bought this property because it's a quiet road and a horse farm in a beautiful area, not because we're trying to sell off stuff and have houses there. That's not our goal, but that was presented to us as necessary.
Well, thank you for that. John, did you want?
I do not have a problem with what they're trying to do or the lot line, combining the parcels. If they want to do anything else with that piece of property, they're going to be back in front of us anyway.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
So
Thank you.
why are we holding this up for something a problem that does not exist at this time?
I think, so I would agree with phase one. I just don't know, because we don't know what is, I'm sorry, with phase one, I'm with the rings and I'm.
Which is truly.
Because I don't know what the implications are for the subdivision, for the rest of the activity on the subdivision. I'd like to understand that more before going forward. But, I'm one person. I don't know, Paul, what?
Yeah, I think my feeling, as I was mentioning last time with those two parcels, is mainly it's relatively, it's a little over 6 acres, which is a large portion of the property within Lewisboro that's not lawn. And now we're giving it to another owner, and they, now we're completely separating it. So we have no control. They can do whatever they're doing, developing phases down the line. And now this parcel of wooded area, it can be developed on its own by a separate owner, and we really have no recourse to them. But we're taking 40, 50 acre, whatever the acreage of the main property is, that is lawn, and had 6 acres of woodland that we're opening up to someone being able to develop, versus this property, we have you want to build another rink? Well, you can't in this only wooded area. That's my thought process of you're giving up something for relatively no reason. Yes, they have a contract, they have this, but what is the true reason of it except for the fact that this person may at some point want to develop, or the next person down the line?
They're going to have to come in front of us.
Let me just respond to that.
What would be our recourse to that person? Because now it's theirs, and they have an 8-acre lot. Why couldn't they develop it?
If they were ever to develop it to something, they have to come to you.
Right, but I have that they have all right to develop it. At this point in time, this belongs to you, and you have a lot that you basically clear cut. I mean, you're taking like 400-inch diameters of trees down to make more level lawn, and giving away woodlands that, in relatively from the way you've developed and the slopes on this, can't be riding rinks. So it is a protected entity right now. So we're protecting woodlands by keeping it as yours versus giving it to someone else that can do something on it.
Okay, so if we retain it, and Lord knows if we tried to put a road in, which I don't believe would ever be approved, that's more development inducing than what we're talking about now, selling it to a neighbor who I presume wants to buy it to protect his property. But thankfully, Mr. Monteleone's here, maybe he can help respond to that question.
Good evening. Hi, I'm Greg Monteleone, partner with Gettinger, Waldinger, Monteleone, Gashua, and Hollis. This is Mr. Reed, the owner of 45 Cross River Road, who is in contract to purchase the property that we're talking about tonight. There is absolutely zero intention of ever developing any of this property he's purchasing. I think Mr. Reed is comfortable giving any representation you want in regard to protecting this property in the future, including a conservation easement or anything you're interested in.
I have a number of questions. You said that the seller,
Our seller, to us. Right.
the seller to you,
Correct.
demanded or required.
From the very inception of the transaction, if they, Double H, wanted to buy this property, use it for a horse farm, they had to agree to convey these parcels.
What happens if they don't?
Everybody, under these circumstances, we're all getting embroiled in litigation that's unnecessary for no reason. I think what's incredible is that this gentleman, if I'm certain about the representation, is addressing your very concern by saying he'll put a conservation. You can't ask for anything better than that.
That satisfies my concern. That might be different than yours. That would
Yeah, it
satisfy mine.
doesn't, because I still think that the ingress and egress is an issue. And I don't understand that it has to be done now. That's not to say that it won't be done. It's just, why does it have to be done now? It's land, it's empty land. I mean, like, nothing's happening to it. So why at this moment do we have to include it in something that's totally different? One is a farm, one is a subdivision. It's not one and the same.
If I may inquire a different way, why would we stop it?
Well,
When this man
because I do have an issue with it, or, the ingress and you haven't given us a plan for phase 2.
But to
But
be
we-
as far as regards to ingress and egress, currently in the property, they may not be fully delineated. We have a main entrance, let's say, and a service entrance.
Yes,
Correct.
we went on
Our
to
plan is always, which we do in our farm in Florida, any farm we've had, a main entrance and a service entrance, which the service entrance is plenty wide enough for trucks, anything, a trailer, any of it. So as far as an ingress and egress to that, if the service entrance is built in that way for utility vehicles to come in, would that not?
Fountainville is
would
a
that
very
not-
narrow road.
Sure.
And there's going to be a lot of activity.
Agreed, but I would say
Eventually.
In regards to us, the activity, I think there truly will be less activity in Fountainville because our operation is less people and less horses than it was previously, or less people, truly.
Absolutely. We pointed out, not only that, but if you look at the fact that these horses are not going to be on site 42% of the year, yeah, it's going to be much less impact. That's what we said to you.
I have no problem with the farm. I really think it's a good idea. I just don't understand why it's imminent for the subdivision, that's all.
Sure, but I just, as.
It just does not seem to be so imminent that we have to do it at this moment, because the land's not going anywhere.
But I would say is, he was saying that, and when he said that, just remember, when he said there's less use and you shook your head no, I would love to be able to give you that explanation why there is less use if you'd like to hear it, or less traffic for our operation than previous. Number one, as Charlie said, we are in Florida 6 months of the year. There is a chance we'll have a herd horse that stays up north or is there for the winter. We are seasonal, number one. Take this summer, for example. Our horses arrived today, first time they're on the farm. They're there for 2 weeks, and every horse we have leaves for 3.5 weeks. That's this summer. In previous summers, we go to Spruce Meadows.
I have no problem
But I'm
with
saying,
the
the
farm.
traffic, the traffic itself, the point to the traffic will be less. That's what I'm saying to you. I'm speaking to the traffic specifically. That was the point that you made to me, that there would be an increase in traffic, and there simply will not be. There'll be a decrease in traffic.
And nobody has, why do we have to make the determination right this minute? Because in truth, you may want to use that property to move something, to move maybe housing.
But again, they can't. I apologize, but they're under contract to convey it.
But I
Stand
don't
right here.
understand, Charlie, I don't understand how you're under contract, which makes us have to make a decision now.
Okay, so.
I don't understand it. Legally, I don't understand it.
I'm not sure. Okay, so very basically, the only way they acquired the parcel is if they agreed to subdivide, the only way.
So in other words, we must do this because you agreed to it.
You must do it because it's a lot line adjustment under your code, and it's a type 2 action, and there's no reason to.
So
and
we
then
had-
on
why-
top of
yeah.
that, on top of it, you just got this man to make a huge concession to do exactly what the.
But I thought he
wants.
wasn't going to do that anyway. I don't see that as a concession. He just said he wasn't going to do that.
I'm sorry?
But, no, my point is, look, my point is, why do we have to do it today, tonight?
So sorry, with all due respect, I am Kevin Reed, I am the owner of 45 Cross River Road, and I moved up here 3.5 years ago and bought a 192-year-old house on, a little over 5 acres, and absolutely fell in love with it. And I was nervous when the Birdsong Farm, I know what you've been on and off the market for years and years, as a horse farm, using the existing road and everything else, and I was nervous about who was going to buy it, and I was so delighted when, the Double H people bought the farm. And
That's not typical, not the slang way of buying the farm. I got it. Yeah, I'm sorry. But yes, bought the property.
Purchase farm.
Yeah.
excuse me. In any event, my intent was to buy these 2 parcels of land because I do not want to see them develop. I do not want to see a road on here. I don't think it's realistic. The topography is quite steep, very, very steep. I'll tell you, Route 121 there, I'm going to have to separately appeal to the highway department because it's not safe around us. People go at excessive, amounts of speed around corners, and I've been, complaining about changing some of the signage. Why on earth someone would want to put another, a road, in there when there has not been one there for God knows how many hundreds of years? Clearly, is beyond me. So I don't know why your strong preference is to have a road there. It's completely unnecessary. But I simply want to preserve the green and the beauty of the area and have a buffer, frankly, around my house. Nothing more.
Great.
And I can't believe, I was shocked when I heard, which is the reason I came tonight, I was shocked that I thought the lot line adjustment would be completely uncontroversial. You know, as is, I can't see anything, frankly, because I am going to be impacted more than anybody else by what these people are planning to do with the farm, and I'm comfortable with it. So I think I'm the most impacted of anybody in this entire room. I could be wrong. But if I'm comfortable with what they're doing, and I'm trying to preserve the beauty and the you know, the open space there, I can't believe you're taking such an issue with this. I really can't. I'm floored.
Okay, well, thank you. And so, I mean, I think one of the things we did not know was that the possibility of looking at a exit or using that as a egress had been examined, and Don, was that you that did it? Did you look at the?
I did not, but our office did.
The office did. So, I mean, I think that is something that is new news, you know, and I think it does affect the change. I mean, because we are interested in making sure that there's no untoward or unanticipated impact on the people along the road. It sounds like, and so to me, the subdivision had held the possibility of an alternate depending upon what would happen down the road. If that is not feasible, then a lot of the reason to say hold on to that and look at perhaps even a license through it or something, you know, through the transfer, that goes away. So I think it would be important to get that, you know, confirmation, that study from Insight Engineering.
And what we'll do is we'll make that part of our submission to Jan for the May 28th submission date.
All right.
And so with the conservation easement, can we deed those as part of a conservation easement as part of the subdivision, or does it need to be a separate application? How can that be completed?
I think
Well, it could be made a condition of the approval, and there could be a notation put on the plat in terms of
that could be
conservation.
Are you okay with that, Mr. Reed?
I have to look at the details of the proposal, because as my contract calls for now, it basically is a simple lot line. It's appended to the existing lot line. Now I'm going to put a conservation easement on my existing property, clearly. So it would have to be platted separately, and I'd have to look at, you know, what I was going to do. So I'd have to look at the details.
But I think his very, very nice concession, I think, addresses your questions, Paul.
No, it absolutely does.
Excellent.
We can work that out.
Excellent. So we'd love to move forward then, and I'll get that information to John.
There are some pretty significant restrictions on the property just from a DEP perspective, because there's a setback from the actual reservoir that limits impervious surface, construction of impervious surface without a variance from the DEP. And that setback extends quite a bit into the property. So
that's a DEP in addition to DOT. These are all things that we've looked at.
Yeah, but we've seen the DEP give variances like.
yeah, I'm not saying it can't happen,
but I do appreciate that information.
There's also, Kevin and I, during our site visit, took a look at it, and there was some wetland features that were obvious along a stretch of, the piece
Along
that's-
121?
Along
Okay.
121.
So trying to cross that would be difficult with
The
I mean, this is.
the skinnier piece of frontage that comes down on 121 was wet.
Okay, I mean, this is helpful for me, information. I think, let's see, so what we are.
Can I also ask maybe Charlie one question? Reading Double H's business plan, it occurred to me that it could be evaluated as being less impactful than what's the current use was, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
But down the road, if the property was sold or there's different aspirations for the property by Double H, it has the potential of becoming something else. Who knows down the line. So I guess maybe to alleviate some of your concerns, if you are okay with phase one and what's been presented, somewhat in phase two, would you be okay with some sort of condition that said, if there's, any change of ownership or intensification of use beyond what's shown on the plans, that you'd come back to the planning board? Because you do have a site plan approval.
Right, we have the site plan approval for the Riding Academy use, correct?
Right.
That's right.
Because there seems to be some concern about some potential development that's outside of the municipality, could happen in Pound Ridge, whose access might be through Lewisboro. All unknowns, way in the future.
Which we believe that would probably be the case. But again, we don't have present plans for it.
We don't have
right?
present plans, but I'm just wondering, you'd probably end up here anyway.
That's exactly my point.
But because of the ag status, you never know. So maybe you provide some comfort and think about
I can discuss that. I can
think
discuss
about
that
it
at Double H, okay? And I'll get back to you before the next meeting,
Okay.
or after the next meeting, in this case, maybe.
Yeah, I think, so there's, and because there's a couple of things.
You mean subsequent to phase two is what you're talking about, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. That's,
In phase two, yeah, I mean, because so.
Like if you went beyond what you're showing us in the business plan.
Gotcha.
In this low intensity, boutique.
If we decide it's going to be 50 horses, we understand.
Or you decide you're going to have shows and you're going to invite the public to be.
Did you find out about that already?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I do have a couple of questions. Was there some well drilling or something going on the property recently?
Is that with respect
Did
to-
you put in a new well?
We did not put in any new well.
Okay.
We had fire suppression being worked on since Jan and I were there.
Okay.
We had some issues and concerns, and they've been diligently trying to rectify that. We did some pump downs that probably saw that.
Pumping,
That's what I
okay.
would refer to.
All right, so
And
yeah, it
that
might have
system is
looked like.
now Totally up to snuff, yes. And I gave documentation.
On the paddock area, we still have to deal with the rink. The rink is not.
Oh, no, I was talking about the stables, yes.
So fire.
And that's what you probably heard.
Fire suppression is
Correct.
perfect, okay. That was one of the questions. Now, the second thing is, how do we, I don't know how we refer this to Pound Ridge. I assume if we're having any kind of public hearing, do we have to articulate, does it go into the magic hands of Kirsten, or do we?
For a referral to Pound Ridge.
Okay.
On the wetland permit, or what are we talking about?
I think when we do a subdivision,
Okay.
or
Lot line change.
we have to do things anytime we're within, I know we get things when they're 500, within 500
I see what you're saying. So you
feet.
just give them notice?
Yeah.
That's fine.
I think we have to do that.
That's fine. Yep.
Well, they might actually sign the plat in this case.
I think you might be right about that. They might.
They will.
So we have, I don't
That's fine.
I don't know what all those details are. I know we have to, I think we have to refer.
You have an expert right over there.
We already referred this to the building inspector and fire department. It would be, I don't think we yet have a memo from you?
No, we were mainly focused on life safety of the existing structure because we knew they were time sensitive for the horses arriving.
Right.
And I, like other members of the board, were having a hard time getting my arms around what we were actually doing and not doing. It's becoming clearer.
Okay.
You know,
But if we do have a public hearing, then it would be very helpful to have a memo that helps us with that. Okay. So I guess we are, I mean, my concerns about having the subdivision was because I thought that there might be a future reason to have it if it's not accessible for road, and we've heard that, and if it's not going to be, if if there's a possibility it could be kept in a conservation way, then I have less concern with that. I don't know.
I'm
You're still
moving
concerned.
I'm still concerned, but a public hearing is always good.
Public hearing is always good. Okay. So we can agree to have the public hearing in June? You said you'd have the information to us in time?
We'll make it for that May 28th date that's your submission? Absolutely, yes, we will.
And you have to get things out to the neighbors on a certain,
I'll work with you on the public hearing.
That sounds good.
Process.
I'll follow your lead.
okay. Again, I think real clarity on exactly what we are discussing as part, I mean, that's some of what Jan's memo was. I mean, again, I saw trees coming down that aren't until part two, and
We do understand and take some degree of responsibility for the confusion, which we will rectify.
perfect. Okay.
Point of information, why can't the Pound Ridge property access in Pound Ridge?
I don't think there's access through property to get to any road.
I don't think they have
It's
road
landlocked.
frontage.
It's
Yeah,
landlocked.
it's landlocked.
Totally landlocked?
Yeah, it's landlocked. Well, not landlocked, it's landlocked. It's accessible from Lewisboro, but otherwise not. Otherwise, if you're asking through Pound Ridge, it's landlocked in that respect.
But the house that was sold, the other house that was sold, that has access?
I think that does.
Yeah.
The one in Pound Ridge?
Yes.
Yes, yeah. that's-
Yeah, that one accesses out onto a Pound Ridge Road,
Correct.
but the other parcel is only
Again,
accessible through,
They get the tax, we get the traffic.
Hopefully, the traffic is going to be absolutely unequivocally, if their hopes and dreams are realized, it's going to be really, really minimal, and it's going to come back to an end.
And just make one very good point to the traffic, I mean, you're saying the road is narrow. Agreed, it's a narrow road. 2 points. Number one, this is our first time doing this. We've had a big horse farm in Ridgefield on a 2-lane, very small road. We were surrounded by neighbors. We never had a single complaint of us going over someone's property, being too loud, horses manure, nothing. Today, we had our trailer come and drop off our horses and left. They're 35 minutes. I went down directly to look at number 11 across the street, must see if they touched the grass, the boundary. Nothing's disturbed. Took a picture to make sure. We are not naive first-time horse people. We knew buying in a historic New York town, we're going to have neighbors who are going to be concerned. We get it. We're not trying to change something. We want to keep this farm as much as everyone else does. And our goal is to do it, have it here on Birdstone, have our farm there. Because if we can't run our family business, we could go somewhere else, then who knows what happens to the property. My concern is the same as yours. Someone else buys it and they make houses. That's not, we want to keep this horse farm. But we have to have these changes in phase 1 to even do that.
great. Okay,
Okay.
so anything else we need to do? What, do we need to agree by consensus to refer to Pound Ridge?
Yes.
I think we've kind of done that. Everybody's okay with that?
It's a mandatory, it's a general municipal law, it's a mandatory referral, but go ahead and do it.
Okay, so we all agree that we can, right?
Yes.
I mean, is there anything else we need to do before, on this matter, before we? Okay, I appreciate all of you being here. It's really very helpful to hear a lot of this context because, and especially because we understand phase 1 a little bit, and I think it's been helpful to hear what your real view of phase 2 might be, so.
That's why I came up to be here.
Yeah, I do appreciate
And
that.
just we are, like I said, this was a downsize from our last property in Ridgefield, which was a relief. And it's my wife and myself running the business now. It's not my father-in-law, and it's not that. And we are next generation Village Farm, trying to run it in a way that we can sustain it, which is our goal. You don't know me, but our goal is to keep it as it is. We're not trying to grow into something that I can't maintain.
Okay, well, I suspect, I'm not sure, but there are a lot of people in the room I don't recognize, and some of them may be your future neighbors, or current neighbors, but, you know, so.
Former neighbors. I am Birdstone Farm, so I'm here to hear what you have to say, because you do have some misconceptions.
Okay, anyway, thank you so much. I think we have a plan, right?
Yeah. So we will see you in a month.
Okay, we'll see you
Thank
next
you.
month. Okay.
Thank you.
The next item on our agenda is calendar number 05-24PB. This is 1156 Development. That one did ask to be adjourned until June. Okay, the next item so we will see them in June. So the next item on our agenda is a calendar number 10-17PB, calendar number 19-22SW. This is Mercedes-Benz of Golden's Bridge. This is 321 Main Street in Golden's Bridge, and this is an application for amended site plan approval and meeting report. And while some of the information is and things are being set up, I'm going to say, perhaps you could take that conversation outside. Thank you. So as mentioned at the last board meeting, I attended an informational meeting on Mercedes-Benz on April 23rd. It was held in this building. Mercedes-Benz was represented by Michael, Chris from Sullivan Architecture, Anthony Nestor, JMC. Other attendees were Kevin Kelly, Duff Price, who's the chair of the ZBA, Jan Johannesson, Tony Goncalves. And we did review the proposed plan changes and also kind of talked about what didn't change. We heard about the current state of construction, and we also discussed the variances that this new plan requires. So I had told the board I would report back out, and that's what happened at that.
Good evening, Michael Sirignano. As the board knows, the project, as you approved it, is under construction. And in conversations between the owner and Mercedes-Benz USA, there's been a decision to alter the plans as you approved them, both with respect to the site plan, both with respect to the site plan and the new dealership building. So I'm going to let the project team, engineers and architects, just take you through the changes. We think it's less intensive. We're getting positive feedback from the neighbors as it's been shared with them, and we're going to be before the zoning board tomorrow night. So I'll let them describe the changes.
I don't know, Chris, if you want to go first. I'm just waiting for that. I didn't want to have this going on during
Okay.
the previous meeting, so.
Good evening, Chris Palella, Sullivan Architecture, White Plains, New York. I'll just quickly touch on the building itself. The footprint of the building hasn't changed. This is chiefly the showroom building, which is being affected by this change. I'll show you the former elevation and the current elevation. Showing the parking garage, which was on the south portion of the site. This is the new elevation showing no parking garage, which will now be a surface parking lot. The east elevation showing the same landscaping that was along Green Street. Obviously the lack of a parking garage here. And chiefly the south elevation, which was never visible on this project because it was interior to the parking garage. This was what it looked like formerly on Anderson Lane, much further south down the site. And then we changed it to this elevation, which carries the metal panel around from the front of the building. We added some glass, some stucco elements that were on the chief elevation, and basically just carrying that same look around to the side of the building. So this is now a more prominent elevation visible from the south side of Route 22. And I just want to touch quickly on, since our original approval, Mercedes-Benz, of course, changed their branding yet again to what's called Auto House 3. So originally, this is what the building looked like. This was kind of their kit of parts that we used, their signage, these column elements, the roof overhung on these column elements. I'm sure you've seen Mercedes-Benz dealerships elsewhere. And then it's become more of a sleek design. The body of the building is more or less the same. The metal panel has been refined to the actual color that we'll be using. You see some black stucco banding here, black metal panel here. The lettered signage, which used to be mounted on these columns, are now pushed back and actually mounted right onto the glass. And actually, there's less glass in the refined design than what was here originally. So I know one of the original concerns was how much light this building would emit, and we've actually cut down on that with the refined design. And that's chiefly it from the building. Like I said, the footprint hasn't changed other than the removal of the parking structure.
And we have to show this to ACARC, obviously.
Yes.
We'll be on the next application for ACAR.
Okay. And just, I'm trying to get the scale there. So from, can you say from maybe, I guess it's Anderson Hill Lane up to this, yeah, to the building? That is,
The length?
yeah, I mean, I think the building used to be very close to the,
Yeah, I mean, if you take this line,
right,
which corresponds to
Right.
where the corner was and currently is, that line is where the parking garage
used to be,
formerly
right,
was.
right,
So now this is all surface lot, and again, maintaining the landscaping along Green Street.
Right.
And actually, it's been augmented and added to, as Anthony will speak to.
okay. And do you, the height, I know we're talking about it, it's a sloped lot. Do you have a sense of the height up from Anderson to the base of the?
To here?
Yeah, no, to the base, the bottom.
Oh, to here?
Yeah.
Anthony can answer that
Anthony
question.
can answer.
Sorry.
All right, Anthony.
Before we get to that,
Yeah.
the post-COVID reality for luxury car sales is that you don't have to store as many cars on premises, so therefore that garage is proposed to be removed.
Yeah.
Good evening. Mike, do you want to mention about the stackers too, just so?
Oh, yes. Well, Anthony,
I could go through that.
Okay, great.
I'm Anthony Nestor from Janmeyer Consulting, JMC. And so I'll just go through this. This is I'll call it the current approved plan, which was your board approved last.
Right.
And then to answer your question, this shaded area here was the extent of the garage. Thank you.
Let me know if you want the other set.
I think, can everybody see it okay, or is there an issue with?
We're fine, yeah.
So-
But I think it's going off anyway. There we go, that's good.
That's good.
So this line, right, so this is the portion of the building which we're calling the parking garage, which is
Right.
proposed to be removed as part of this amended application. The car stackers, which are in the north end of the lot, behind the service building, are also proposed to be removed. So there's 2 rows here and a row here. And then on the new showroom building, you can see all these dark green areas, which are the green roof, which is also proposed to be removed.
And the board will remember those stackers were a concern to our neighbor to the north.
Yeah, so I don't know that anybody here was on the board when we approved this. We actually went down to New Rochelle and listened to the amount of noise that stackers made going up and down. I mean, I think it was also a concern just in general.
Yes.
And, okay.
So this is an overall site of the amended site plan. The rest of my slides here just focus on the south end because that's really the majority of all the changes that are being proposed. But I thought it was important just to show from a whole site standpoint where things were. So I'll start from the north, which this building right here is the service building. So the lighter color is the existing service building and the darker color is the proposed addition, which was previously approved. So with just the elimination of the car stackers, it's going to continue to act as an open parking lot. So nothing really changes from there except for the elimination of the stackers themselves. And then in between the service building and the showroom building here, one of the things that we are asking as part of the amended site plan package is the addition for 2 generators, and then there's a propane tank which is needed to provide heat for the buildings. So right now there's no gas to the building, so that's the form of providing heat to both of the buildings. And continuing south, this is the portion of the showroom building that's to remain, the new portion that was previously approved. So the section here, you can see by the red dashed line, which is the outline of the parking garage. is going to be replaced with an open-air parking lot, per se. And I think if I remember correctly, one of the questions you had was what the grade change was.
Right.
So the entrance in and out of the new showroom building is in this location here, and there is a 20-foot grade change from the building door to the elevation in Anderson Lane.
Great. Thank you.
Which is one of the reasons why we're seeking a variance
Yeah.
to exceed the slope of a parking lot from 5% to 10%. But the plan also, I just want to emphasize here too, is the plantings that were extensively reviewed and gone through in the previous approval along Green Street literally has not changed. And I know Jan had asked us to just check the species of plants to make sure that they were still applicable to the condition with
Right.
not having a building there. And all the plants that are proposed are still going to be fine in this condition. So you can see we also added some more street trees along this, I guess, eastern curb line of the parking area, as well as there's going to be a small grade change island from this parking area to the existing lot that was along Route 22. So that kind of shows that. And this is just an enlargement of that area, which is kind of most of the focus. And this really slide just emphasizes some of the variances that will be lessened, some that will be eliminated, as well as some that are going to be required new.
Yeah, I don't want to get too deep into the variances. We're going to take that up with the zoning board tomorrow night. But one of them that you are, I'm surely interested in is we're asking for a variance on the lack of planted islands inside that new parking lot where the garage was originally supposed to be. But keep in mind that that is going to be a storage of unsold vehicles and staff parking. We're not inviting the public into that parking lot.
How many parking spaces in total?
50. In this area, there's 50 parking spaces.
And in the other?
All the other parking?
Yeah.
I have a parking plan, I can go through it with you.
Just a number, I mean.
I don't know all the other ones. I can, here's the plan right here. So this plan we kind of put together, which was important during previous applications through your board. So it's kind of color-coded the parking and the uses of the parking. So all the yellow spaces are allocated as customer spaces. So those are 48 parking spaces total for all customers. But I also want to note that even though there's little green spots in the buildings, there are spaces inside the building that we're using as towards our parking requirements, such as, like, for example, the service building. Each one of those service bays is counted as a service spot, so it's part of the required parking.
As well as car displays inside the showroom.
In the showroom building. And so we try to identify each building what those parking numbers would be. But overall, there's 25 parking spaces here. Overall, there's 194 parking spaces proposed on the plan.
Thank you.
Which is less than was previously.
Thank you.
Why don't you quickly take them through the other colors?
Sure. Okay, so the yellow is the customer allocated parking, required customer parking. The orange color is employee parking, because the code requires that we have one space for each employee. So the orange spaces are 65 each. And as Mr. Sirignano mentioned, this lot that we're adding here, because of the steepness that we're asking relief from, is pretty much restricted for use for personnel and storage of cars and employees. So it's not going to be open for public. So if you were going there for service or to look for a car, you're not going to be able to park here.
Yeah, this is going to be a stupid question. I don't know if Mercedes has electric vehicles.
They do.
They do?
They do.
So do you have any?
Yes, there is electric. You can see all these little, and I apologize for the small of the scale.
Okay, I'm sorry.
All these little black dots over here are car charging spaces
great.
in the back.
And there's also car charging, I believe, up in this area here too, by the entrance to the existing showroom, I'll call it.
Okay, thank you.
I don't know the exact number.
No,
but
no,
it is-
I just wanted to know if you had them.
Okay.
So the footprint of the showroom is the same as you approved it, just the
Right.
facade is
Correct.
changing.
So just continuing on this, the purple numbers are dealership exterior car storage that we're including as part of the required parking. And then the green, obviously, is all the interior parking that's allocated within each of these buildings.
I'm sorry, it's just a matter of ignorance, because I didn't.
No, it's fine.
No.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, and you mentioned that the propane is there to heat. What was formerly, I mean, they must have had heat before.
It's oil heat, I believe.
Oil
It was
heat?
oil.
So you're switching from oil to propane? Okay, just curious. Thank you.
Anthony, would you address the ingress and egress and the curb cuts and any changes
Sure.
there?
So there is, like everything else on the site, all the curb cuts along Route 22 have remained unchanged, and we're not really changing anything from what was approved previously. The only change that comes is off of Anderson. So there was always a driveway into the garage from Anderson, but it was considered a driveway, it wasn't considered an access road per se. But now that access way shifted further east towards the intersection of Green Street, just based on the configuration and the geometry of the parking area. And so that is going to be an ingress and egress driveway, which I believe is 24 feet
Yeah,
wide.
for employees' cars, most.
Correct. But there is going to be an access down to, I'm going to call it down to the lower parking lot closer to Route 22. It's a one-way circulation up from there, because if they're bringing cars in and out for storage, we didn't want to have it just one access out there. So this way, from a circulation standpoint, we try to keep traffic off of 22 and Anderson from a circulation standpoint.
I'll just add on that south portion of the site there, we previously had a second curb cut for trash collection. There was a trash enclosure at the back of or on the south end of the parking structure. We've now internalized all that, so that's something
Okay.
that's also been minimized on.
So you can see from, this is the original design, you can see the two driveways, one here and one here. So now everything is concentrated to this one, this was eliminated.
Okay.
So because we're under construction, we are obviously trying to fast track your review and the zoning board, and obviously we're into a coordinated review again. And I'll let Jed guide you on those steps, but we'd like to get some feedback from you generally from the board as to our changes here, whether you think we're heading in the right direction that you're comfortable with, and then maybe start talking about seeker and coordination.
I do have a question. Why did you eliminate the live roof?
Yes.
Why did what?
You eliminate the live roof. You had a
Oh.
green roof.
Unfortunately, that was a Mercedes-Benz requirement. They don't like the liability of having it on their buildings from a use point of view.
It wasn't something that was required, but it
No, I
was
know,
very
I know,
nice.
I
And
know.
now,
Well, I was just
and
thinking of it as
so it's got to be,
mitigation. Right.
I don't, so thinking just sort of stormwater wise, now all the stuff on that.
My next slide.
Okay.
If I can continue.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go.
So on the right here is the original approved design that shows the parking garage here, and this is the green roof. And I apologize for the messiness of this, and there's a lot of information on this plan. But this whole building, the new showroom, I think even the existing showroom, and the garage, was all collected and it was all stored underground in this area, in the parking lot, the parking area between the building and Route 22. So that's how everything was treated. The live roof did provide some relief with regards to water quality and quantity with regards to that. But in the new plan, with this having being a parking area and having it basically just sheet flow down, we were still able to provide the same water quality and water quantity as the roofs were providing, with a minor change to, there's an outlet here from an outlet control structure standpoint, so the water is being held a little bit longer underground, so that gives it more ability to absorb and percolate back into the ground. And you can see this line right here, this is like a, for lack of a better term, a long trench drain that's collecting all the sheet flow from the building down to this area and then directing it right underground as if it was on a roof. And then this small area here is being treated by the bioretention areas that are between the curb and Anderson Lane.
Are the bioretention areas on and off property it looks?
Correct. And I believe there were always bioretention areas within part of the right-of-way on the original plan as well. But getting rid of this additional driveway or access here enabled us to make this a little bit longer. So from a volume, and I know I still need to provide Mr. Johansson's office with the revised stormwater report, which I have, and I'll submit it tomorrow. But everything meets, all the storms are being reduced with regards to frequency, amount of rain, and nothing really has changed from that standpoint.
That could just be a letter of some sort, you don't have to.
I have a letter, Jan, with the,
Full-blown SWIP.
but I need to submit it to DEP anyway and the state. So I have a letter pretty much outlining what we changed, so you guys don't have to go crazy.
Okay.
But I just want to get it to your hand, so
Yep.
even Joe can look at it, whatever.
I'll give it to Joe.
So really, from the stormwater standpoint, that's how it's being handled.
Yeah, John?
In the original approval, you had a previous problem with drainage onto the neighbor's properties, and we said in phase one that was supposed to be addressed early on. How is that affected by this? We have done everything that we were asked to do as part of the previous approvals, and actually during construction, we've done existing more modifications to that area, and we were dealing directly with the town's engineering consultant and the building department and Ms. Steve Nicola to the north to implement what was previously approved on that other plan. So we went above and beyond what was required by us per the other approval, and we are still working as much as we can, where we are asked to do things. We've done whatever they have asked us to do with regards to rectifying it. So would they agree the problem solved? All I can say is we've completed everything that the town has asked us to do. And more.
And I think that in the construction sequencing, there was some drainage that was going to be put in that took stuff from that parking lot down off, right? That's still?
That has been completed.
That has been completed, okay.
And the phasing plan isn't changing at all as a result of the project?
Not with regards to anything back here, no. There might be small tweaks up in the front on the south end, but.
Parking structure would have been one of the last things.
Yeah, last thing.
Correct.
Right. Okay. And I think one of the, so you're actually, by having that sort of trench drain, you are actually capturing, that was one of my concerns on the slope there. You're capturing a lot of that without it really running all the way down.
Yep. And then we had actually another one at the beginning of the driveway here.
Yep.
So before it goes on to Anderson.
Okay.
And that's where that area is collected and then dispersed into both sides.
Okay.
Into a bioretention area.
Okay.
So the next thing I just want to touch on is lighting, because we did add some light fixtures. Again, the original design was on the right, and the new current amended design is on the left here. So we have added 6 light fixtures around the parking area because we needed to make sure it's properly lit, just for security reasons. A lighting analysis was provided as part of the package, They're still, on the property line, meets all code requirements with regards to light levels. But I do, and these light poles will be consistent with the rest of the site. I believe they are 14.5-foot high total, so it's a 12-foot pole on a 2.5-foot base. So it's going to be consistent with the same LED light fixture was previously approved. I do want to mention with regards to lighting in this area though, and I kind of have highlighted here, there's a utility pole with a Cobra head light on 22 here. There's one right at the intersection of Anderson, and there's one right here on Anderson and Green Street intersection. So there is a lot of ambient light surrounding this area. And I don't believe...
Does it run all night?
Excuse me?
Are they on all night?
The street lights you're
No,
asking?
she's talking about the site lighting.
Yeah.
I believe there's a note on the
There's a
plan.
note on the plan that the site lighting was going off after
At a
hours.
certain amount of time.
Yeah.
And I apologize, I don't know what that number, that time
Yeah, I
is.
think when they said that they had enough, they had security cameras that provided security, and the upper area had a gate across, as I remember. So, but this is a little different because I don't know whether they gated, I don't remember whether the parking garage was gated, and this is now open, so maybe they do need something.
And the showroom building, the new facade actually has a little less glass, am I right about
Correct.
that?
Yeah.
So there'll be less light
Less
coming
light.
out of it.
Did the old garage used to have plants going up the facade?
Yes, as part of the screening on
Yeah.
this east elevation, we had what was called kind of like a live building wall,
Right.
if you will, which obviously now there's no longer a wall.
There's no longer a wall, right, okay,
So that goes away.
all right. Okay,
And
I'm
lastly,
sorry.
this is just, even though this is pretty much the same figure, but this is basically the landscaping plan, just to show, again, everything from here, actually from here to the north, has not changed at all. There's one thing I do want to mention that I didn't really speak about was, so we were asked by the town to provide a sidewalk along Route 22. So the sidewalk is shown within the right-of-way on this section, and then crosses over this driveway, comes up along here, but then as we go east here, it needs to be, so it's on our property line, which is one of the issues of increasing the site coverage.
Yeah.
So that was some of the increase, even though we still meet code with regards to coverage. But the landscaping that we had in this island needed to just be shifted and spread out a little bit, but it was basically the same cluster of plant materials, so nothing was eliminated, it was just shifted over.
Was there, I think I remember maybe from Jan's memo, a question about landscaping to block the generators and the propane tank?
So I can look at it again, we can look at it again, Jan. It's going
Okay.
to be very difficult because that whole
It's at the top of a hill, yeah.
It's all blasted in rock.
Ah.
So I don't,
They're not going to be, I think, seen from the public. It'd be more from like the site.
Other places on the site.
Their own visitors, I guess.
Yeah, okay.
But
it's
a large tank. It's
Yeah.
a 6,000 gallon tank.
I can go, since I guess the one good positive of being on the construction, I can go out there and just ask those guys to poke around and see what I have depth-wise.
What color is the tank?
I think it's still to be determined. They still have to provide it.
I know, 'cause-
Usually they're green, I
Yeah.
guess, or
And,
the
I mean, yeah.
picture they showed me was a green tank, so I don't know if that's still true.
Yeah, it might be less
Mhm.
visible than a white, but they might have heat concerns. I don't
Mhm.
know, that say it has to be white. I'm just curious. Okay,
Yeah.
I think that's-
We could look at, like, Mr. Sergnano just mentioned too, maybe there's a combination of some kind of fencing. I don't know if it's going to be high enough. I don't want to need another variance. But,
You don't.
It may break it up enough where it's not so bad, but we can look at something. I
Yeah.
think we could definitely.
Yeah, planter, actually, that's not a bad,
Yeah.
maybe.
Planters.
I don't know,
But
okay.
and last, I just want to say, so there's you can see from the original design plan, there was always like a small island that separated the parking up along 22 to the parking garage. So this little strip kind of got a little bit bigger, so we did add similar plant materials, trees, shrubs, and ground covers in that area as well, just to break up the view from coming from Green Street looking west.
So, I mean, Jan had a couple of add some evergreens there, and ask for a couple of sections that I think would be helpful to see, right?
Yeah, asked for a couple sections through 22 through Anderson, and just thought with the headlights pointing west, maybe incorporating some evergreens or edge, if you could.
Yeah, I mean,
Looked like
again.
it was mostly deciduous stuff.
Well, we could provide a section that I can look at adding,
Right.
replacing.
Maybe not adding, or
these
just,
two.
and just in the, I'm just talking about the new landscaping island, not.
This one here?
Yeah,
Yeah.
not anything along Anderson.
So this parking is lower than this too, but
Right.
I can add,
You might see the evening hours,
Yep.
the lights shining
Okay.
across.
yeah, we can definitely add evergreens along.
Although I think that storage there and the customer lights might be coming out. I don't know. Anyway, it's a good idea.
Yeah, I can definitely substitute evergreens for that area.
I mean, it was well planted. I'm not asking
Yeah.
you to add, but if you could
Yep.
maybe think about something.
Yep. I prefer not to mess with this planting
No,
up in here, because that's already been bonded, estimated.
Yep, got that one.
No, but if you could bring this section through Anderson.
Yep. This section through here was provided, but in the set, but we can provide.
Going east-west through.
Yeah, we can
from
do that.
22 through
Yep.
Anderson.
I think, or 23 through Green, right?
Oh, Green, I keep on saying Anderson, I meant Green.
22
Yeah,
through Green.
this way.
Yeah,
Yep.
just to give us,
This way.
I think that would be, because you kind of,
It's almost this view,
it's almost that, but,
just further back.
right. Because it's going to have trees and then, yeah, okay.
We can definitely provide that.
Right, so,
I just had, for the parking you were noting here, is the required parking a combination of Mercedes-Benz and the town code, or is it more leaning towards Mercedes-Benz at this point?
So the town, and please stop me because I was not present at all the meetings previously. I mean, I've been involved in this project for a long time. But the parking requirement for the town states for parking, for dealerships, I believe, is 1 space per employee plus 1 space for 500 square feet of gross floor area is the required parking. So if you just take the 65 spaces for the employees, the new gross floor area is 64,000 square feet divided by 500 is 129 plus 65, so it's 194 parking spaces required.
And then I'm sorry, I can't read that number.
Yeah,
Is that 210 or what number?
So we are providing 210. So
Oh,
there was always additional parking above and beyond the required parking for storage for the dealership.
Okay. And then that pink is on top of the 210?
So this pink is exterior storage that we're saying that's not included as part of required parking.
it's over and above.
So that's all these areas back here.
Mhm. I mean, just from the comment of saying that we lost the green roof and the big open part, and you're going for a variance because we don't have tree parking or, planting islands in the parking area, you are significantly over our requirement to see about adding trees back into that parking. I mean, we're talking 4 or 5 spaces at that point to get some tree coverage in the big open lot.
Right, but that's the ZBA to decide. We don't have that, but yeah, it would seem, so, and.
Well, we have site plan
up in-
approval, do we not? I'm not saying I'm granting a variance.
Okay, the ZBA will grant the variance. I don't know if they have granted a variance, if we can then go and say no. You know what I'm saying?
Right, if they grant the variance, we're not in a position
To reimpose it.
To reimpose, right.
So, I mean, but, you look at even the things up on, that's, the pink that's in the back that's already constructed, that didn't have, I guess that was a prior set of variances to not have,
It was the original approval
Right.
variances that were sought originally.
can't do anything. Yeah, so once the ZBA approves things, we don't have the ability to reimpose them.
The granting of a variance puts an applicant in the, same position as a fully compliant.
As of right.
And what, I'm sorry, do you mind going back? You had the chart of all the variances that were up there?
I don't have them on this presentation.
Oh, it would.
I don't have all of them.
Oh, you don't have all.
I don't have all the ones that are listed on the cover sheet. I don't have them all here. I have
No.
a copy I can give you, 11 by 17.
That's okay, thank you.
But I think what they're saying is that part of the original approval, there was there was a lot more parking provided based on current demand of the dealership, above and beyond what was required by town code. And I think that overall variances that we received with regards to landscaping within parking areas and all of that was part of the overall variances that allowed that parking to take place. Yes?
Rich,
I mean, I'm not a-
I'm just looking at it from, so we're talking, and maybe I'm wrong, we're talking about a site plan approval for this development on the property. The variance is requiring the number of spaces and how the number of spaces are oriented with the number of green planting islands within a parking space.
Right.
Relatively, two different entities. We don't have to approve the parking lot as a site plan approval versus them approving the amount of spaces and how those are arranged. Those are two separate entities in a sense. We can say, no, we don't want a large parking lot with no green, or our reasoning is because there's no green. And they're saying, that's fine if they did it, but in my thought, and this is a little bit of view, they're kind of two separate things. We're either approving that a parking lot can or can't be there, and they're giving a variance of how that parking lot is organized to our town code.
They're given a variance to allow the parking lot to be oriented and developed in a way that is at variance with town code standards.
And then we're giving this approval to build.
To build it.
So we don't have to give that approval. That's what I'm saying. And so my reasoning for not giving it is the talking of the
Well,
tree.
I think you could still, regardless of what the ZBA issues a variance or they don't, you could still have comments on the site plan.
Okay, so that, I mean, yeah, I'm
can't
not
say-
against
you
it.
can't-
Yeah, right.
You could say you want more trees, you want a landscaping island. I don't think you could say the code requires this landscaping island, you have to give it to me because if they have the variance
Yeah.
and you need 5 of them because the code says. But you can say, I'd like you to introduce, you can give your comment as a planning board member on a site plan for
For that, yeah.
a variety of different reasons.
That's more what it is. Perfect, thank you.
Right.
That's my feeling on it for approving this development. Yeah.
Right, but we can ask. I don't think we can demand.
Oh, of course, I mean, that's part of all of these.
Yeah, okay.
applications. Yeah, that's just
Okay.
my thought. I just want to say that our ask is not nullified because they get a variance.
Right,
That's all.
but we can ask, right.
And we're seeking amended site plan approval, not original site plan approval.
Okay, so I think, do you have anything else to show us?
I'm all good if there's any other questions.
Okay. Are there questions from, I think one of the things that we would want to do is refer this to, I don't know if we have to refer it to ACARC, but we would, I mean, we
It has to.
clearly.
It has to.
Building change anyway.
Yep, okay.
June 12th agenda.
Okay. We should refer it to both the building
It's already-
inspector and the fire department
Already went to the building. It's on the ZBA tomorrow.
yeah, that's
Tomorrow's
true.
ready.
For the variances. So,
Should go to, I don't know if it needs to be referred.
I mean, we might have them just look at, I don't think there's any changes to
Could
turning
Just note
radiuses.
that they
but-
actually have extra capacity now for fire suppression because the building is gone, but they still install all that
Underground
subsurface tanks.
Right.
So the fire department apparently, actually, I've talked to Rob, and they're ecstatic that they
Right.
have all this extra capacity. They actually filled some of the tanks full.
Are they concerned with any, I'm just sort of, that the only thing that really changes is the is the entrance through that one parking lot? I mean, are there, well, I'm just saying, maybe,
Actually, I think they'll be
send
happier
it-
with it because it's wider
Yep.
and easier than a single lane versus the two narrow ones.
right,
You'll-
Okay.
You'll have better access around the building.
right. But just, do you, I would like to refer it, just to make sure that we're not missing something. Okay?
You can actually get closer to the building now because they wouldn't
Right.
have been able to pull into the parking
They
space.
couldn't get into the garage, and now they can get to the building. And again, that's, but
No,
they're
understood.
professionals in that stuff, and it would just be good. So, the other thing is, so seeker, do we, yes,
Do you want the lights back on?
yes, okay. Well, we might lose some
Speaking
people to
Do
sleep.
you want me to turn this off or leave it on?
You
Or
can,
Leave it on for a second.
in case there's a question,
Okay.
we can leave it on until,
I have a question.
I'm sorry?
I have a question.
Okay.
The lighting, you're adding six lights for the parking area. Those are not going to be on 24 hours, all night long, or they are?
I
And
believe
then,
they're gonna, I think they're gonna follow the same restrictions that we have for the north parking lot. They'll be on a time.
on the approved plans, I'll read it, I have them right here.
okay.
There's the note that says, all of the lighting fixtures will be illuminated from dusk until closure of business. The dealership shall install night cameras for security purposes, so
Perfect.
that's
Perfect,
still
'cause
valid.
I remember going way back when this started, and
Mm-hmm.
when I used to be on the planning board, the lighting was a concern with neighbors.
Yeah.
Okay, great. That's a good solution.
But I just wanted to point out, there's still lights on Anderson and Green. and-
No, I
Yeah.
got it. It's,
Streetlights, yeah.
Yeah.
So I think we probably want to address seeker and maybe
Seeker.
declare ourselves lead agency?
Just to re-engage, you're gonna have to, you're gonna have to
Right, declare
redo or
se-
revise the secret determinations. So I would start by declaring your intent to serve as lead agency and get that out.
Right, so we need a motion to that,
Yes.
if everybody's agreement.
I so move.
Okay, so, and do we have a second?
I'll second it.
John seconds. So, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So we have declared ourselves the intent to be lead agency on this, and that paperwork can get going?
Yeah, now, if you're going to be on the ZBA tomorrow, what is their general procedure? Would they act tomorrow?
No, I think they're gonna have to hold it open.
Okay, because,
We've had this before.
yeah,
Yeah, they can go ahead, I'm sure they can give you preliminary indication as to where they're gonna go, but
Yeah.
they'll hold the formal determination until.
let them know that the notice is forthcoming.
It'll do.
Okay. Anything else that we can do tonight?
Do we have to put them to a public hearing?
We would have to put them to a public hearing. Typically, I mean, we wait until we hear from the ZBA. I mean, so maybe we could do July? I don't know, when is the
Well-
ZBA likely to be? Yeah,
I'll know more tomorrow night. I'll call you all up if you want.
well, we can, I mean, it probably wouldn't be before,
Why don't we, why don't we
Yeah.
put it in there and then,
But
I mean, because we meet in June, we could do it,
Okay.
I mean, I don't know.
if
You
it-
have three
if it-
public hearings for June already.
Yeah.
FYI.
No, I think,
you know, if it were possible to have a resolution ready at the close of the public hearing, that would save us a month. Let's see where we go.
What do we say, July?
I think we should look at July, yeah, and then, because you think even we can't close a public hearing until the ZBA finishes. If they're unlikely to finish, it probably won't be until July anyway, right? So do we want to set up and agree to a public hearing in July, or do we want to wait until next month?
Oh.
We're okay?
I'm okay with
All right.
Great.
Get the stuff going, all right? Anything else we can do?
No, answer any more questions. We appreciate you, your careful consideration of these changes.
Right. CAC didn't have anything.
No, I didn't answer.
Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, the next item on our agenda is calendar number 12-22 PB. This is the Villas at Vista, 920 Oak Ridge Commons, South Salem, New York. An application for
12 houses.
this is the application for 12 housing units in Building 9, 4 of which were previously approved. And there's still a lot of conversation in the room that's distracting me, but okay. Evening.
Bob Eberts, Cross River Architects, for Phil Pine and Smith Ridge Associates, the owner of the property at Oak Ridge Commons. This is Andrew Kuzmich, he's the engineer for us.
Hi.
The application that...
Excuse me, just for a second. Could you guys maybe take the conversation outside? Michael, Mickey, could you maybe take the conversation outside so we can... Thank you.
Michael's helping us out as well, of course.
Okay.
We've made a couple of submissions on this project already, and they involved taking the original 2 buildings and breaking them apart, that right now built as one together. And we've rethought that. We're going to keep them as one building, at least that's our proposal. This is the site. This is Route 123. This is the main building facing the road. We call that building 1 and 2. This is the pond. This is Oak Ridge condos back here. This is Laurel Ridge development over here. And this is the building that we're talking about. So it's always all the way in the back of the site, the west portion of the site. And right now, it's one building, as you can see. It was originally built as 2 approximately 80 by 50 foot warehouses. They were built 10 feet apart. And in subsequent years, they built a connection between the 2 buildings, put an addition on the front of what we call the 9A building, which is the easternmost section of the building, for a vestibule or lobby, and they built an addition on the back of the B building facing the pond that became a restaurant cabaret space. The front building and the lower level of the back building and the second floor of the front building were all used as fitness center. The main floor of the back building was used as a cabaret restaurant. So now we're proposing to make it all residential. Now, if you recall, we were here before you, and the main level of the B building, the back building, was approved by you for 4 residential units. That we are now proposing to change to 3. We're here basically as a change of use. So from the restaurant cabaret, we're now changing it down to a total of 12 residential units. That's again including the 4 that you've already approved. So again, I'm going to keep saying that because I want to make it clear that they haven't been built yet, but you've approved them, and we're in the process of doing the construction drawings for them. But I don't want to suggest that there'll be less units than there actually will be. So I'm just trying to be clear with that.
Okay.
So we think there's a lot to like about this application for the town. First of all, it takes a large building in town that's sparsely occupied and turning it into a residential use. 2 of the units will become middle-income units. What's also nice about this location is it's surrounded by multifamily all around. We've got multifamily to the north, we've got multifamily to the west, and we've got multifamily to the south. So really from this portion on is all multifamily. So on 3 sides, it's multifamily right now. So we're keeping very much in character with the use that's in the area. The other thing that we're proposing to do is remove some of the existing parking that's rarely used. It's really too much parking for what's used now. It's always empty. We're taking some of that away and making it more green space. So that's a real benefit, in our opinion, to the town. There's also some drainage improvements that we're going to talk about that Andrew will go over with you. And of course, traffic will be much less than the fitness center and the cabaret use. At times we had 300 people at the cabaret, and that would cause a lot of traffic in the evenings in the area. That's not going to be there anymore, so that's improved. So let me turn it over to Andrew. He's going to talk about the civil portions.
Okay, thank you.
Here's a little more zoomed in aerial. This is the building we're talking about right here. The changes to the site plan, so the parking and asphalt that's proposed to be taken out, this piece in the back here. The connecting road between the parking lot on this side, so this here, and a portion of the parking aisle on this side over here, which in total adds up to about 14,000 square feet of just plus or minus of asphalt pavement being removed. The project as a whole, since there is some additional building coverage being added, we're reducing impervious coverage by about 10,000 square feet. So that's great right off the bat from a stormwater standpoint. That will passively reduce runoff volume and the peak rates of runoff generated from the site. In addition to that, so there's an existing drainage conveyance system that drains the parking lot area over here, and there's really two lines that come and meet at a catch basin structure here, which then pipes over into the pond. What we're proposing to do is collect the pipe that does not take the larger chunk of Rings End actually drains through it. We're proposing to take the pipe here and collect this area and treat it through an underground infiltration system here before it gets into the pond. So the combination of the infiltration system and the reduction in impervious coverage is about a 1/4 acre of stormwater quality improvement. And other than that, there's some retaining wall work that we'll work out the details on around the side of the building here to get some light into the lower level units, and a little bit of drainage work over here to drain the area that's now, this will be the end of the asphalt on this end here, so we need to put a drain in and connect it to an existing drainage system on that side.
So I did have some questions about the various entrances to it looked like when I tried to put the floor plans and the site plan, I wasn't sure that there were connections into all the opening doors. I was just sort of confused by which things they might have been different levels or so forth, and how you would cross the parking lot or to get into some of those locations.
I've kind of put this over the existing, the proposed floor plan over the existing. So these red hatched areas are things that are built now that are coming out that we're proposing to remove. The green hatched areas are areas that we're proposing to build. So there's an existing access here. This is how you always get into the Willows or the back cabaret, right through this entrance. That entrance we're proposing to access the 3 units that you've already approved at this main level.
Okay, and is that where the awning is?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That just helping me orient myself. Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
And then also to get through a stair and an elevator to get to the 2 units that we're proposing in the lower portion.
Right, okay.
Yeah, this is the lower one. So again, we come down the stair, elevator, we get to these 2 units that we're proposing in the lower portion of the B building, the back building.
Right.
Again, the pond is out here.
Okay.
Just to help you out.
Okay,
And
so all of those come in through
all those
the
come in through this one.
through the awning area.
Those 5
Okay.
units.
Right. Now we've got
6 units that we're proposing in the front. Let me amend that, 7 units, take that back. 2 units will access here again off of that same parking lot here. And then these units here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, will access off a sidewalk that comes across the front of the building.
Okay, so there used to be a driveway that went across that. You're
We're
taking the
out the drive.
driveway, but you're leaving a sidewalk.
Sidewalk, yes.
And so will that sidewalk go all the way out to the parking lot so people could park either on one side or the other?
Yes, you could. Again, Andrew, can we take the site plan again? So there's parking over here.
Right,
Maybe they'll want to use that, come here.
Right.
It's a little bit closer for them.
right.
But most of them, I think, will all park over here in this area. Again, we're going to have a sidewalk that comes over here, and this is an existing sidewalk that comes right to that parking lot. It'll serve all the back units as well.
That's helpful. I just, I think we're going to see, and one of the comments from Jan is going to be that you need to show us a little more landscaping, not just, okay, we're taking asphalt out and putting lawn in. But as I was trying to figure out the access, I couldn't tell whether there were multiple sidewalks from the building to the parking lot, one and stuff. So that's helpful, and I'm sure it'll be more clear once the landscaping plan is done.
Sorry, for
Yeah.
the addition to the, I guess, that addition being added, are those 2 parking spots for those units, or is that what those little bump outs are?
We had talked about making those 2 units have garages, and I think we've eliminated that thought at this point.
So what about accessible? Are any of these apartments being designed as accessible? And if so, where's?
All 5 of the back units, again, one's on the main level you've already approved, and the 2 lower units will be accessible on grade or through the elevator in the building. Yes.
I remember when we approved the other apartments, I asked the same questions. Will there be EV parking in? And it was told to me that when you made more apartments, that's when you were going to put the EV chargers in.
I think I would leave it up to you guys as far as where we should put them also. They may not be, the best place may not be part of the residential, maybe somewhere else, but we're happy to put something in. We'll work with the board and Jan to.
I would like to see, I guess, some EV charging. And I do think it makes some sense in a residential area, but,
It's
you know.
easier for us to do it in the residential.
Because that's where you're tearing up all the,
Right.
So-
If that makes more sense, that.
Okay, because last time you said.
Yes,
I
we
like
took
it,
3
I like
last
it as
time,
much
yeah.
as you do.
You're right.
So.
Jan, is there with them, and I'm all for taking, pavement out and putting green in, is there any effect as far as the fire department goes?
They're going to have to review it. We had that
Yeah.
comment.
I dropped off a plan with them and they're
Okay.
looking at it now. So we'll work with them. We're also putting sprinklers in the space as well, so we'll work with them to
Okay.
make it work.
yeah, so obviously, again, I think we refer this to, ACARC, if they don't have it already, ACARC should probably see this, right? No, or not? No?
They don't have anything there.
We have not submitted anything.
Okay, so we'll,
Yeah, we don't have any elevations yet.
Ah, okay. Oh, that's right, we just have the floor plans. Okay, what about,
When we're ready.
yeah, building inspector, fire department? Should we refer that?
Yeah, it's just, I think it's still early. It seems to be still a moving target somewhat until we can finalize these plans so we can do an accurate review.
Okay. I'm glad to hear that you are going to go with 2 affordable housing units. That's, as we sort of agreed, and that's great. I think one of the things and one of the reasons that it might go to the building inspector, again, it was pointed out in Jan's memo, is that this is multifamily and an RB.
Yeah, I think it might be helpful to have maybe a working session with the applicant. Maybe Michael joins myself and the building inspector, just because it's a unique situation with being in the RB zone, but then having to comply with the multifamily zoning. You got competing zoning regulations and bulk regulations to contend with. And it's not clear which one to use. So I think it'd be helpful to have kind of a working meeting on that.
Yeah, so if that,
Available whenever you want to set it up.
I was going to say, that might help, as you said, some of the moving parts that are coming, yeah.
Can you clarify, you said middle income, and
I said affordable.
There's no middle income.
Yeah.
I thought it was, oh, it's not used anymore?
No,
that's
that's an old zoning code.
Okay.
Okay, so maybe,
I know.
well, so that's really interesting. I heard and translated and said, oh, of course you said
And I
that.
heard
Okay.
middle, and I said, it must be affordable, but
Right,
let's
affordable.
clarify the record.
Okay.
Read the code, you might say, I'm not.
Well, I haven't done it.
Good catch that I've translated that. All right. Again, as this proceeds, this will also need to go through seeker.
Yes.
So we could also
Coordinated review.
decide to declare our intent to be lead agency, which would again take a motion.
So moved.
Thank you, Charlene. A second?
Second.
Paul? Any discussion on that? All in favor? Aye. Okay.
If you could just, we had 2 minor comments on the EAF. If you made those comments, we would use the revised EAF for the circulation.
So I'm encouraged to see this. I have to say, when we saw the extension of time for the 4, I got worried about what was happening. So I'm glad you're here tonight. I'm glad to see this and.
We've gone through the ringer a little bit on this, so we're happy to be here too.
All right, and I think that there's some, I know you're cutting down 3 trees, and I know I can anticipate, Karnak, the CAC will say, make sure you plan for at least 3 trees.
It's going to be
Okay.
beautiful.
It's going to be
A lot
beautiful.
more.
Okay,
Let us do those landscaping plans.
okay. I don't know, I don't think the CAC had any other comments there on this one? No. But I'm just anticipating that.
We are looking to get
Right.
big numbers for the rentals of these, where you need to make it beautiful.
Yep.
And so we will.
There's
Okay.
tremendous demand for rental units in our town.
Okay, anything else that we can or should do tonight on this? Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
You know the resubmission date for, okay, great.
Starting right now, taking them with me.
All right.
All right, thank you.
Okay, the next item on our agenda is calendar number 18-22 PB Bishan LLC, and this is 876 Route 35, Cross River, New York, and an application for a change of use from residential to commercial.
Good evening, Michael Soriano, Patrick Croak, our project architect, and Paul Sr. and Paul Jr. Rotundi, clients of Bishan LLC. So on March 28th, I sent the board a letter asking the board to use its authority under section 220-24C2 of the zoning code to make a determination whether our proposed accessory use is one that's customarily incidental to a permitted principal use. And I did that because our building inspector, who in this matter I have an obvious disagreement with him over, he rendered an opinion on March 13th, a denial letter I should say, in which he said our proposed use as a commercial/contract yard is not allowed in the RB zone. Your code gives you the authority to make a determination as to what is a customarily incidental use to a permitted principal use. So I sent you the letter. Simultaneously, or within days, I filed an appeal with the zoning board because under state law and local law, if you're not happy with the building inspector's determination, you can ask the zoning board to review it and overturn it or amend it. So we had that filed. I thought we were going to be before you tonight and before the zoning board tomorrow night. Somehow, I was advised by the zoning board secretary that the chairman of the zoning board would not put us on tomorrow night's agenda because he thought that you folks had the issue before you, and he didn't want his zoning board to spend time on it or certainly render a decision until you folks exercise your powers. I don't know if that was a miscommunication, but my clients are getting kind of ping-pong back and forth, and we're not making any forward progress. Just for the record, complete clarity, the proposed principal use of this property is the building, which was formerly a residence for many years, forever, to use that building for professional and/or business offices, which is a permitted principal use. The majority of the building, and Patrick can show you, is going to be rented out. The rear portion of the building is going to be used by the Rotondi family as a dispatch office, as a business office. And what is their business? They dispatch tow trucks to help people when their cars break down, and those cars are then towed not to this site, but to a service station or a dealership for repairs, or a body shop for repairs. That's the principal use. And so the question I have before your board is if that is a principal permitted use and a dispatch office is permitted under your code, does the overnight or the daytime and overnight parking of 2 flatbed trucks, is that another accessory use customarily incidental to the permitted use of the dispatch office? To me, it's clear, and again, with all due respect to our building inspector, I don't see that this is a contractor yard at all. And, you know, we're behind the former Sunoco station, now it's Sal Service Station, which has multiple flatbed trucks and even heavier pieces of towing equipment.
Right,
So here, if I can find a way, and my client doesn't lose another 2 months getting ping pong between your board and the zoning board, I'm open to suggestions.
So, and I do understand the difficulty of getting different directions from different boards. But you're telling us your view of the principal use, but we have to listen to the building inspector. And what he's told us is that the use that is proposed for this is not a permitted use. So that's like this threshold that I don't think, we can't as a board say, no, we disagree with the building inspector. That's what the ZBA is for. I have not talked with Duff about this, and I don't quite know why they're not considering it. But I think for us, we have been told by the building inspector that this is not a permitted use. I don't think it's within the realm of our board's business to disagree.
My concern is you're not in a position to render interpretations on the zoning code that rests with the building inspector. And in terms of the code says what it says about us being able to determine if it's an accessory use. But that's predicated on the fact that there's been a determination that there's a principal use that's going to support the accessory use. We don't have that yet. So.
Okay, so if I.
So, I mean, I understand too. I mean, what I would, well,
No, go ahead.
I would say what I'd be prepared to do, I mean, offline, would be to try to talk to Greg, Kevin, maybe bring the zoning chair in and just figure out a path forward to get you to a place where that decision's gonna be vetted and heard.
I appreciate that offer, but since we're fortunate enough to have the building inspector here in person, my reading of his determination is not, he's not saying, and tell me if I'm wrong, he's not saying that the dispatch office, a desk, a telephone, a fax machine, he's not saying that that's not a permitted use in an RB. He's saying the running of the storage of tow trucks on site is the problem. Am I right or wrong on that?
Yeah, we had talked about this. This has morphed over the period of time since we've started this application from 20 some odd dumpsters there to 5 dumpsters to multiple tow trucks stored overnight to even as of today, tow trucks in a backhoe was there. On all purposes, it appears that I have commercial contractor vehicles on the site. I don't disagree with Michael, the building itself is RV, you know, there could be an office there, okay? It's what comes with that office is the problem.
All right, so.
Charlene? Yeah.
Yes.
It seems to me it's the tail wagging the dog, that the principal use is really the tow truck operation, and you have an office to dispatch those tow trucks. So that's my opinion.
Well.
And it's sort of like if you have something that's illegal and you have an office, then you can do it because it's, it's accessory.
I understand your opinion, but as Judd said, planning boards can't make zoning calls. So, but when I saw Kevin's determination, I called him and I said, have you seen the latest plan? Because I thought he was responding to the containers. And he said, yes, I have seen. But my initial reading of this thing was he must be looking at the old container proposal. But Patrick, show him where these tow trucks would be stored.
Supposing the tow trucks be stored back in the area.
Behind the Sal Sunoco building.
Correct, behind Sal's. Sal's is out here. This is in the back, driveway comes in, the trucks will be parked here. At the time we drew this, we talked about 3 trucks. You mentioned 2 tonight.
I'm sorry, 3. Yeah.
So we're looking at 3 trucks.
Will they be dispatched
Of course.
from there?
Yes.
So it's dispatched?
Yes, but they're not bringing cars back here.
They're dispatched from there, that's...
I don't want to argue the zoning issue with you.
Okay, I'm not going to argue
You're not
the
a
zoning.
zoning board member.
Yeah, right.
Based on the attendees, there are days where the trucks are not here at all. There are other days where the trucks are here. They're there at night.
But again, this is maybe, so my interpretation of the letter that we got from Kevin, and you can explain it, was that the proposal, that proposal is not a permitted use. So when I don't know how to parse it, other than that, but.
I think it's a wrong determination, but I understand your position. Your hands are tied. So I'm going to take Judd up on a suggestion. If we can't work it out at this meeting, then we got to get Duff Price to let our appeal be heard by the zoning board.
Right, and again, if I can, I don't know that I can add much, but I would certainly be willing to meet with Duff as well, if that.
Okay,
if
right.
that,
I think that'd be helpful.
Okay.
It's very helpful.
Because, I mean, right, we would then have the discussion about whether it's customarily incidental if the use was permitted, but if it's, I think we're stopped from even talking about that because the way I've heard it, it's not a permitted use.
Okay.
So that kind of stops us before we get going. But
Understood.
I mean, it might be that when we talk to Duff, he feels like I can't do anything until something. So we really need to, we need to really have that discussion.
But just,
Hi.
For so many years, Sal's Towing was there.
Yeah.
Destroyed the property. Destroyed. I cleaned it up. That's why my backhoe is there,
Uh-huh.
picking up all the bad stuff out of the ground. I put a fence in there, which building inspector didn't want to give me the fence.
well, you got the fence.
We got it because of him.
Right.
And this,
I agree that,
our neighbor had been storing illegally
Right.
on this property, leaving old cars and trucks just sitting there forever. And Paul cleaned it up.
yeah, and first of all, thank you. I mean, I think there has been improvement there, but that's not, it still doesn't mean that we have something that says this is a permitted use. And that's just the threshold that.
You can understand my client's frustration.
I am,
Okay.
we can try to work with Duff, and I
But
don't
I
know.
can tell you, it's almost unprecedented that the two board chairs are going to have an informal meeting, so that's a very favorable.
Okay.
It shouldn't be unprecedented, but
It
yeah.
shouldn't be.
It might be. Okay, so who is, just so I'm straight, who's setting that up? Who's in charge of setting that up? Okay, because if everybody thinks somebody else is doing
Do
it.
you do notices for the zoning, or that got stopped?
It got stopped.
Okay, just
Yeah,
want
we
to check
did.
whether the notices had gone out,
No,
they
I-
were stopped.
no.
Right,
Because now they've changed the procedure there where the applicant
That's,
sends
no,
them out.
that's why I was asking,
So
did you send them out?
I didn't get the package.
Okay.
okay, so thank you, Judd, for taking that on. Calendars are tough, I know, but that would be a good thing.
So if you could hold a spot for us on your next month's agenda, see where we are.
See what we can do,
Appreciate
yep.
it.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the next thing is just a discussion. As you know, there's some comprehensive plan zoning amendments, which is go back a little bit. The comprehensive plan has been reviewed by the town board. They had a public hearing. They're going to have a second public hearing on that in June. And meanwhile, they're going to have a work session on May 28th to further talk about the zoning. They had one discussion before, as I remember, on the zoning amendments.
Yeah,
So
this
there's
is not comp plan, it's the code
Zoning.
changes,
Yeah,
including zoning and wetland.
Right. So, just letting people know that's going, I'm planning to attend. I think might be a problem if more than two of us are there, but it's available on Zoom, and you can speed through it on Zoom after the fact, so, I mean, if you look at the YouTubes, you can go faster. All right, anyway.
Can I go there as something different, as steering committee person?
The issue of open meetings law, if there's a meeting that you attend and you're not there to conduct business
Right.
and you're all just watching, I'm not overly concerned about
Okay.
there being an open meetings law. But-
And I'll just say I'm on the
but-
steering committee.
Yeah, but,
If somebody starts asking questions.
It's just, if there's only two physically at the meeting, it just avoids the question if anybody were to raise it, but I'm not, if you want to go. I'm not overly concerned about, an open meetings claim. You're going to be sitting and watching, and perhaps asking questions, but you'll be doing it not as a collective board. Yeah.
Okay. anyway, so I think that's an important step, but I don't think the public hearing on the zoning, on the code amendments is anytime soon yet. There's still some more.
No, we're going to step, the comp plan will get finalized and put in place before they then turn to the local laws to do the various code changes.
Right.
And that's part of this is also just still the work session to figure out what those are going to look like.
And I haven't seen a lot of, I haven't really seen anything come out from Valerie that says, here's our presentation. I don't know what, but.
For the work session?
Yeah.
No, and I'm not sure that Valerie's really driving this discussion.
Okay.
And I think she'll be there, but yeah.
All right. The other thing that we have is from Richfield, Connecticut. They have sent us for comments their change in restriction of median income housing from 40 years to, it looks like it's going to go to in perpetuity. I would look for a motion, well, I don't know how we comment on this, so I would look for a motion that I can send a letter to the town board saying the planning board has no comment on this.
I'll make a motion that you
I'll
send a
second
letter.
it.
Okay. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye. But actually, I agree with it, but,
Yeah, it's, well,
well, you know,
It's-
because after 40 years, then they sell it
for right.
market rate.
On the other hand, I think it was put in place that way so that people would be incented to build them in the first place, thinking, oh, in 40 years from now? Yeah,
right.
but, you know, who knows? Anyway, minutes of April 16th, 2024, expertly prepared by Kirsten. Any comments on them? Motion to approve? By Paul?
Second.
Second by John. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Next meeting date, June 18th. And so I'd look for a motion to adjourn the meeting at 10:04.
I so move.
Second?
Seconded.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Okay, and we do not have to move the tables tonight
Oh,
because
wow.
ZBA is
All right.
meeting
They're
tomorrow
coming
night.
here tomorrow.